Continuing debate, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I am absolutely delighted to speak today in support of Bill C-248, an act to amend the Canada National Parks Act, Ojibway National Urban Park of Canada. And I want to thank the member for Windsor West for his hard work in bringing us here. I also want to acknowledge the work of the member for Windsor-Tecumseh for his advocacy, and I was able to visit this park when I was in Windsor about 2 months ago, and I was quite impressed with the enormous efforts that have been undertaken by the community, including the Friends of the Ojibway National Park. I suspect most of what I'm going to say, Mr. Speaker, is more of a reflection on the Rouge National Urban Park area that I'm very proud to represent. And I want to kind of frame it like this. I think on any given week, we have opposition day motions. We have question period for around 5 hours a week. We have an enormous amount of back and forth amongst all the parties that sometimes is questionable as to what we're doing here, what this place really means to us. And I can tell you, in the 7.5 years I've been here, if I were to leave this place tomorrow, or if I leave this place 5 years from now, the single most important thing that I would take away with me is the Rouge National Urban Park. And I suspect the member for Windsor West is probably in a very similar journey that I'm in. And the reason for that, Mr. Speaker, is this is a monumental achievement for us locally, for those of us who represent the Rouge Park, and in this case, Ojibway, the area around the Ojibway National Park. It's monumental because when we look down 30, 40, 50 years from now, we are creating an enormous piece of gem protecting our wildlife, protecting our natural habitat, ensuring there's ecological integrity in the hearts of some of the most densely populated places in all of Canada, and I would say North America. And as I look at the Rouge National Park taking shape today, I often look at how we got there. And I want to pay respect to a number of people who have been instrumental. And I want to start off with Lois James, who is, as you may know, is known as the mother of the Rouge, and she unfortunately passed away several years ago. We've tried to mark her success in so many ways, but I think the absolute legacy that she left is the park itself. And I'm going to say that, starting with her and generations of activists thereafter that she inspired, we have managed to bring something very special to the Greater Toronto area. We now have 79.1 square kilometers of protected space, and amongst the most incredible wildlife protected, including the Carolinian forest. We have hundreds of endangered species and ecological and farms, for example, that really do speak to the vibrancy of the park, and the balancing act we had to do to ensure that an urban area could support a park, an established urban area could support a national park. Starting with Lois James, but we go into the 70s and 80s, Mr. Speaker, as the City of Toronto was sprawling. Scarborough, at that time, as a city of its own, was sprawling, and there was development. There's enormous pressures for development because of shortages of housing. We had activists, we had common citizens, people who are principals, who are gardeners, who are students, and I think about people like my friend Glenn de Beermaker, or Jim Robb, or Kevin O'Connor, and others who basically said enough is enough. We have the Rouge River going through, the historical Rouge River going through one of the most beautiful parts of the city. And if we put development right in the center of it, we would lose that. We would lose the ecological benefits that stem from it. And as a result, people actually stood in front of bulldozers. Like, there's stories of citizens who stood in front of bulldozers and said, enough is enough. We don't want to have development at the cost of our environment and of our land. And I think the enormous sacrifices of the individuals there, I think, led us to the park today. Like I always say that myself and the member for Guildwood, Scarborough-Guildwood, in many ways we're here as the last leg of this long marathon, but what we did was inconsequential compared to the work of the community itself, the fights that the member for Nunavut was talking about, the enormous strides that our community made. And then I look at all the people since then, the kids, the schools, the community. There isn't a week that goes by from now to probably the fall where we're not doing a tree planting. I, for example, am doing a park, walk in the park, I call it, at the Rouge National Urban Park next Sunday. And there's tree planting, there's a community cleanup tomorrow for Earth Day. There are tree planting opportunities across the Rouge Park that is done by organizations such as the Friends of the Rouge Watershed that are undertaken by organizations such as Ontario Forestry to ensure that our area is vibrant, the park is vibrant. The unique nature of the Rouge Park also means that we have working farms. We have active farms that recognize as heritage farmers, farmers who have farmed the area for a couple of hundred years, and they have a form of tenure that allows them to continue until their demise. And we have new vibrant businesses that are taking shape, including what I'm told is a microbrewery that's coming to the park. Of course, this is all situated in traditional lands of many indigenous nations, and including the Mississaugas of the Credit, and there's also the Huron-Wendat, who have a long history, including areas of the park where their history dates back over 10,000 years, and of course, the park itself is managed with enormous guidance from the Indigenous Circle that is part of the operations of the park, and there's regular and ongoing consultations that really does allow the park to be sensitive. And one of the things that I have believed that the park should do, and I'm going to put it out there because it's something that is quite important. I've had many conversations on this, and I hope at some point it'll happen. The Rouge National Urban Park is the single largest portion of or display of the federal government within the Greater Toronto Area, and as such, I believe there is a need for more reflection on reconciliation at the park. So, for example, a need for a Truth and Reconciliation Trail that enables those who are visiting the park to be able to recognize the history, the long and painful history of Indigenous people in Canada, but particularly the region. But also, I think there is a greater need to ensure that we use the park to bring people back to nature, bring people back to what is, I think, most important, and probably the most important threat that this country and this world is facing today. And I want to also acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, the work of Parks Canada, Andrew Campbell, who's for Ontario, he is the lead for Ontario, as well as Omar McDaddy, who's the superintendent of the park. And of course, at the Minister's office, we have Joshua Swift and Kate and Jamie McDonald, who've been incredible. Janet Sumner of the Wildlands, as well as both Minister McKenna and the current Minister of Environment. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I think what the member for Windsor West is doing, I think in collaboration with this community, with many of the community members who are part of the Friends of the Ojibway Park, is creating a legacy, not his legacy, but a legacy for all of us, for all Canadians, for future generations, where we can look back and say, this is what we did in 8 or 10 or 12 years of being here is protect the land, make sure that there's green space, and we're building a better Canada for all of us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to my friend from Windsor West.
Continuing